All right, air brakes. All right. So first thing, when we do the air brake test, you gotta make sure your door's closed, seatbelt's on, and then we're gonna start the bus. Okay. When we start the bus up, we're gonna let the bus do the talking. Okay. We're gonna look at our needles. I know some people just jump right in like, well, look at our needles first. Okay. Are they rising or are they staying still? And what's the bus doing? You know, what are our needles doing here?
They're staying still. So.
All right, so if they're staying still, then I guess we're doing our cut-in, right? But if they're rising, I guess we're doing our cut-out. So let the bus do the talking, okay? Some people just jump in, oh, I'm doing this. Well, okay, well, what are the needles doing? I don't know. Sometimes you get the wrong read. On this bus, it was staying still, so Luis is going to try to find the cut-in, okay? So how do you find your cut-in, okay? You're going to step on the brake like you did, and you're going to wait for the needles to kind of settle, and you wait about 5-10 seconds. Okay. Wait 5-10 seconds. What are our needles doing? Are they staying still, or are they rising? Still. All right. So I'm going to push it one more time. Look at our needles, and what are they doing?
They're rising.
All right. So what are they rising at?
100 psi.
At 100 psi. Okay, so see how you just push on the brakes. He's not doing this. You just push on the brakes nice and smooth. Wait for our needles, and they start rising. So it started rising at what? 100 psi. You said 100 psi. So that's our cut in. So what's the importance of that? What's the importance of cut in and cut out? You know, why is that important? I know the Department of Education gives us a range. Okay, it can't be a cutout. Can't be no higher than what? Cutout cannot be higher than what?
130.
130. Okay, cut in cannot be no lower than what?
85.
Okay. So the Department of Education gives us a range. Why does it give us a range?
Every bus is different.
Every bus is different. You are absolutely right. Every bus is different. That's why we have a range. Okay? On this bus, Luis found out the cut in is 100. Okay? Let's say for hypotheticals, he comes in tomorrow and it cuts it at 90. Are we legal to drive?
Yes. Yes.
But are we safe to drive?
You might want to look at it.
You might want to look at it, right? It's two different questions. We may be legal to drive, but we're not safe to drive. Why? Because we know for a fact this bus is supposed to cut in at 100. And all of a sudden I came in today or tomorrow morning, and now it's doing at 90. That should be a red flag. Something's going on with this bus.
Compressors coming out at different times or something.
Compressor, the governor, we don't know. Remember, we're not mechanics, right? But we are bus drivers, and we are detectives to look at anomalies or problems, and that's a problem, right? Okay, that's why cut in and cut out is so important, and how to find it is so important, especially specifically if you have your bus and that's your bus that you're gonna drive for the next school year. Or yes, sir.
Yeah, in the winter is it gonna vary because
Nope.
it's cold?
Nope.
Should be the same.
Should be the same.
Okay.
Should be the same. And if it's not, problem.
Okay.
It's like a fingerprint. Does it change you in the cold?
No.
It's the same.
Okay.
Same. Remember, this bus has a fingerprint too. That's it. That cut in, cut out is always going to be the same. And if it changes, it's a problem. Well, same thing with your fingerprint. If they change, so that means you cut off your finger or something wrong. So if it's cold, hot, it's always going to be the same.
Okay.
But you have to find it. Okay, so that's why you got to go one number, nice and slow, and find out what the true cut-in is for your bus. Okay. Same thing for cutout. On this cutout, what's the cutout here? 115. How does he know? The needle stopped moving, right?
Yes.
Or also that little cutout noise. Everybody, that's what they call it, cutout noise. That's our air dryer activating. Okay. That real cutout noise. It does activate that cutout, but it's not. It's just a spinner valve getting all that gunk out, all the extra air that's out in the lines. Okay, but it does activate a cutout. But your true reading is always going to be on your gauges. Make sure they stop moving. Okay, and on this bus it cuts out at 115. Same thing. If you came in tomorrow and it cut out at 120, are we legal to drive?
Yes.
But are we safe to drive?
No.
Why? 'Cause something's going on. Okay? Same thing. Your cutout is always going to be the same. If it's cold, hot, raining, sun, fog, it's always going to be the same. And if it's something different, that means something's going on. Okay? All right, so now that we found our cutout, we're our cutout. Now we go into our static test, okay? So we turn off the engine, put it on auxiliary, and we're gonna wait a minute, okay? What's so important about the static test? What are we testing? Why are we doing it?
To make sure that
We're
the
losing air.
losing air.
Okay. Losing air where?
Tanks.
Yeah.
Exactly. Remember, there's two sides to the service brakes. There's the supply side and the service side. Okay. The static test tests the supply side. Okay. So that's why we two different tests. Okay. So we're testing the supply side of the brakes. Okay. So that's why we wait a minute. So why not wait 30 seconds? Why not 45 seconds? Why not 10? Why are we waiting a minute? What's so important about a minute?
Probably waiting for the air to move around or stop moving or I don't know. Something like that.
Something like that,
Not gonna
okay.
come up right away.
Remember, we're testing the supply side of the brakes, and underneath this bus, there's all these lines. Okay? If we drain the tanks, we can hear that,
Right.
and we even hear the spitter valve go psh.
Yes.
But what about those small leaks? The ones we can't hear. Okay? Remember, that's why that waiting that minute is so important. Okay? Is we're just waiting for if there's any small leak, after a minute, it'll trigger something on our needles. And we can't have no more movement than what? How many PSI? 2 PSI, right? Okay, so that's what we're waiting for. That's why it's so important to wait that minute. Okay? Because after a minute, even if the smallest leak in one of those hoses that we have underneath the bus, it'll trigger on our needles. Okay, so that's why it's so important to wait that minute. Okay, not 10 seconds, not 15 seconds. That's what we're waiting for. If there's going to be a small leak, after a minute, we'll see some movement.
You'll see some movement.
Okay, so it's been a minute. Have we seen any movement?
No, sir.
All right, so we're good, and we're still at cutout, right? So now we move on to the apply. So we're gonna step on the service brake, release the parking, and same thing. We're gonna wait that minute. Okay, well we just waited a minute, but now we're checking the service side. Yes, the service side of the brakes. Okay, that's why two different tests. Not just the static is for the supply. The applied is for the service side. Okay. Now we're checking the service side of the brakes, and same thing. Okay, we're not only are we listening, but we're also looking at our needles because they can't have no more than how many psi? 3 psi, right? Same thing. Okay. If there's any slow leak in the apply side of the brakes or the service side of the brakes, it'll trigger something in our needles, and we'll see it. Okay. That's why it's so important to wait that minute. For both tests. Okay? That's so important. Any questions on that? Okay. So that's why we do the static, and that's why I say apply. Okay? And it's always done at cutout. Okay? Never halfway. Always done at cutout. Okay? After a minute, we're good. Any movement on our needles?
No, sir.
All right? So we put our parking brake back. What are we looking for? First of all,
Set off the
if you just do the pump down, okay? If you just do the pump down for the low air warning, all we do, if you look at your needles, they both move. They both move.
Right.
If you're doing the pump down, okay? And on most buses, they only have one low air warning light, correct? Okay, so if you start doing the pump down and it goes down to 60, and the air light goes off, the low air warning light goes off. But which tank did it go off on?
you don't know.
Oh, you don't know.
You don't know. So we don't know if the other one's working or not, right? If you just do the pump down, we don't know, okay? So the only way to really check those low air warning lights if you drain the tank manually, okay? So that's why the Department of Education recommends you drain the tanks, okay? Also, we're also checking the double check valve, okay? Because like I say, if you're doing the pump down, both needles go down, okay? Because that double check valve stays open. Stays open, okay? If you're just doing the pump down, it stays open. But if we drain the tanks, which tank are we draining?
The primary.
The primary. The double check valve senses that, oh, I'm losing air over here in the primary. It's going to shut this door, okay? So all the air from the primary is getting out, but the air here in the secondary is going to stay in. Okay? So Luis drained it. We found our low air warning on our primary. And what's it at?
65.
65. Okay, so and we see it. The light works. We hear it. He's going to finish draining all the way down to 0. So we know our double check valve works if we lose air on our primary. We know our low air warning light works, and we know our needle is holding our primary, our secondary needle is holding. Now we have no air in the back, right?
Right.
How are we going to stop this bus?
Get air in the other tank.
Air in the other tank?
They should still stop.
They should still work. The
They
opposite
should
should
still
still work.
How?
Because
We have extra.
We have
we
extra.
have-
We have extra. What? Where? We have extra. Where?
You have a primary
No,
air
because
tank
we
and a
have a
secondary air tank.
Because we have the
Other tank.
Right. So,
Same question he asks us all the time.
so remember, we have no air. We drained it off. So there's no air in the back. Okay, but we do have air in the front. So what the front tank does, it shoots air to the back, spring brake,
It's going to equal that.
and that's what's called a modulated stop. Because once it's going to go nice and slow. Okay, and go ahead, we're going to start it up. And when he pushes on the brake, he's going to have to kind of push a little bit harder because the air to the back
it's getting.
is going to the spring brake, and it's activating like this, tapping it down. Okay. All right. Remember, neutral park brake, and now we're going to build our air back up. What's the minimum we can build our air back up to?
100.
100. Why 100?
Because that's the one at least check.
That's what it's safe. Okay.
Because
So we're going to build our air up to 100, and then we're going to drain the other side. Now we're going to drain the front. Okay. So now it's because we check one side, it works. Now we're going to check the other side. Because remember, there's 2 sides. Okay. But if we just do the pump down, we're not checking either because it stays open. Okay. So if we're just doing the pump down, this valve just stays open. So we don't, because both needles go down. Okay. The only way this double check valve works if either there's a hole, and it'll cut whatever side if the hole in the tank before we lose all the air, or if we drain it and we control it. Okay, but if you're just doing the pump down, how do we know this works?
We don't know.
We don't. We're doing this. Hope it works. We're crossing our fingers, hoping it works. And we just doing the pump down. That's why the recommend is so important. Okay. Because we're checking every component. That little sliding thing, that's what we're checking. But if we just do the pump down, we don't know if it works or not. We just, if I get a hole, I hope it works. Going up the grapevine today, I was like, yeah, I hope it works. Hope that if I get a hole, it's like, Lord help me. Or before we leave the yard, we can check it. Okay. All right. So we're back at it. We're back at over 100.
Yes, sir.
All right. Turn off the bus, put an auxiliary. Now we're going to drain the secondary tank, which is the front tank. And same thing, we look at our needles, make sure the primary is holding, make sure the secondary is going down, and make sure the low air warning activates at no less than what?
65.
60. And this one activated at?
65, sir.
And we see our red light, and we hear the buzzer. Continue draining all the way to 0, and we're going to take one brake stop to make sure we can stop this bus. Okay?
I have a question.
Yes.
Does it matter if they're different when their alarm goes off?
No.
Or it doesn't matter.
As long as it's above what? 60 psi. Okay. We'll give you a 61. We'll give you a 62.
Yeah.
Mine usually, my first one is usually like 70, and then my second one usually is like 80. And I always question that. I'm like, why is it so different?
Perfect. She found out how. See, because she would have drained with a good valve.
Yeah, you don't know.
You wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know because both needles go down.
Yeah.
Okay. So all right. So we're at 0. We're gonna start the bus up. Put it neutral. We're gonna let it roll. All right. So now we're gonna build it up to what? 100. And we're gonna do 3 brake stops.
Yeah.
Okay. The first brake stop is just to make sure everything works. Make sure our pedals are feel nice and good. They're not mushy or go all the way in. Second stop is we're gonna look at our steering wheel, make sure it doesn't shoot off this way or shoot off that way. Then we know our brakes are off alignment. And the final stop is just make sure our parking brake stops. Okay. and that's the brake test. That's the recommended brake test. Exactly. It's not that much more. And we're checking it way more than just doing that. Just the pump down. Okay. Luis is gonna go. Any questions on that? Luis is gonna go over some components.
See that Lloyd wanting to just stop. All right. So I tested myself. I'm negative. I tested myself again. I just been having a sore throat. Okay, so I'm gonna do my best.
We didn't even ask you.
Well, I just wanted to know. All right, so we're going to go over components. So I'm going to give you guys some secret in front of after the test is you. Okay, secrets, questions, ideas. Remember this. There's always going to be rear braking power. Always. Remember that. If they ask you that, is there any particular time there's going to be no rear braking power? It says, sir, ma'am, there's always going to be rear braking power. Why? If you lose all the air from the secondary system, you have your primary, correct? Right. If you lose all the air from the primary, you have your secondary and a modulated application on the rear that is done by the spring brake control valve.
You're always gonna have it.
If you lose all the air, lack of air will expand the springs inside, over there in the back, eventually stopping the bus. Correct? So you will always have rear braking power. All right, so I have Arnold here. Arnold has two functions. The governor. It's to do what? What does it do? What is its main two functions?
Puts air in the regulator.
It tells the compressor, hey buddy,
Yeah.
I need air. No less than 85. Hey buddy, compressor, stop it. No more than? This is the governor. Pass it down. So if they never have seen that, all right?
It's Arnold. It's Arnold.
That's Arnold.
There's Arnold.
There's Arnold.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I'm gonna look away because I don't want to spit at you. Okay.
Oh.
This is the speeder valve. Okay. This is the one that. Thank you. 6 minutes. Okay. This is the one that goes when it cuts in. When it cuts. Did I spit at you?
No.
All right. So this is a good thing for us to know about, but we don't depend on this. We look at our gauges.
Yes.
They are our best friends, and that's what you're expected to do. But this is a spitter valve. It's on the air dryer.
Spitter.
Like you spit.
Spitter.
All right.
You want me to spit?
Okay, something that I forgot on the last group, and shame on me, is these are automatic slack adjusters. All of our new buses have automatic slack adjusters. All right. So when you're going forward and you're doing your test stops, correct? You're checking your brakes for adjustments. Now you go forward once, you're checking for that pull, correct?
Yes.
All of our new buses in California, I'm gonna say 95%, have disc brakes. Disc brakes, remember this. So when you're looking for that pull, you're looking for that shaking at the same time. Okay? Because maybe the disc inside is warped. You do that twice, you know your bus, correct? You feel your bus, you drive it every day, it's part of your body, correct? So you know how it feels, correct? That's my baby. Oh, love you so much. Anyways, so you should know your bus. When you do your third stop, you pull on this, yes?
Yeah.
So what is the purpose of that? I'm gonna test them now. What is the purpose of doing this?
To see the spring brake
Yeah.
working.
Spring brake is working.
Say it again, be louder.
The spring brake is working.
So I seen it, the spring brakes. You sure kind of. Anyone else?
Spring brakes.
The spring
They're
brakes.
working.
The distance.
So when I go forward the first two times I'm checking on that steering wheel
Yeah.
front axle for adjustment. When you do the back, you testing the park brake, but you also testing the rear brakes for adjustment.
Oh.
How long does it take that bus to stop? Every day is about 3 to 5 feet. But if for any reason it starts taking longer than normal, something's out of whack on the rear. You're not a mechanic. Hey, I pulled it. Oh my God, it took 10 feet for this bus to stop. That was not normal. Something's out of whack. Something's
No.
not adjusted correctly in the rear. That's how you test your rear brakes for adjustment. That is the purpose of that. Okay, so it has two purposes, correct? It's a park brake system, but you also can use it as a device to check your rear brakes for adjustment. Isn't that awesome? So I got one more component. Yes, ask me questions as I'm getting more toys. All right. When you're doing your static test, stop it. I'm gonna mess with you guys right now, okay? So this is your Uno way, okay? Wait, one-way check valve.
Way.
One way. There you go.
Oh, wow.
Here, pass it on. All right.
I'll remember it that way.
This is your. Listen to it. The two-way check valve. Okay, so you're draining each tank. My primary, secondary lock. Officer Banuelos said, draining the primary, secondary shall hold. Yes.
Yes.
If they both start dropping, what's faulty? There's something in here not allowing this little shuttle valve to move over and seal the system that you're losing air from. Double check valve. Okay. This is something you will never see. Only the mechanics see it. It's called the spring brake control valve. This is your best friend in the event something horrible, like you were to lose all the air from your primary system. Something happened where something got ruptured, you lost the whole primary tank. This is your best friend. That's why you're draining the tanks. That's the whole purpose of that, to test your components. You lost all the air from the primary. This baby has spring sensors. It allows air from the secondary, then back to back, so you can have real braking power. All right. So that's what we test all of our. That's what we drain our tanks separately. Even though it's recommended, why not? Look at all the components you're testing. My throat hurts already. Any questions?
So if there was a rupture in the system causing all air to be lost, then immediately that will activate the spring brakes, right? No.
That is no more. Now, lack of air
So
will eventually stop that bus because lack of air, spring brakes will
spring brakes
expand.
come on, right?
To the back. To the back. To the rear.
Lack of air
Uh-huh.
will allow the springs to expand on the spring side of the system, eventually stopping your bus. So I've done a lot of that, my own. I like to mess with buses.
There you go.
Going at 50 miles an hour. Don't do it, okay? And I applied on the brake, and I also did with the park brake. Don't do it. It's not fun. Okay? And of course, I got the mechanics upset at me. But lack of air, eventually in the rear, will expand the rear braking power, and your bus is stopped after that. Any other questions?
Can it be adjusted too tight? When you pull your bark back, your bus is just like itty bitty.
Okay, so
Can it be too
part of the training that I did in Kern County was called high density, and this is something that I would like to do for next year. And I'll show you the differences when it comes to pulling that park brake at a certain speed, and also using your stab brake system, which is your. And again, that's something for another time. Where's my brake valve? Ooh,
It's probably being passed around.
Oh, you
Oh.
passed it around.
brake valve. When you actually stab on this,
Yeah.
and there's different frictions and forces. That's another training that I would like to do, but I gotta ask the mighty CDE for permission to do that. Any questions on this? Any other questions? I got Officer Banuelos here. This is your time to ask.
Where's the two-way valve?
Remember?
Two-way went around the
You guys want to see the double
I
check
tried
valve?
both ways.
Yeah, I want to see the double check valve.
Sure. You guys want to ask Officer Banuelos? I got Kern County people here. Nah, man. It hurts. You gotta
I'm not
ask.
turning away.
Sir.
Be nice to us.
That's a command. That's not a question.
I was just gonna ask, on some of the new buses that they have, that you have the option to go to, you have those two little buttons on the cluster that you can go to the actuality of when you're doing the static and the light. Are you gonna have the person renewing actually go to that screen on the bus to make sure to see the air?
Because it gives you that digital number.
Yes,
correct?
exactly. Yes, I'm asking.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's.
Yeah, I'm asking him. Yeah.
Don't give ideas.
Like, if you have a different bus, bring a different bus. But if that's the only bus you have, then yeah, you're gonna have to. I think some of the charter companies do that, and they got to go to that screen.
Okay, I see.
It's a lot harder to really gauge it.
Right, to find it.
Yeah, to find it. Yeah, it's a hard. I think that's harder to do than the old fashioned. There it is.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if you have that option to bring a different bus, I would with the gauge instead
Right.
of that digital gauge because you have to. Because after like 5 seconds, it turns off or whatever.
Right,
So
right.
you got to keep going or flip
Finding
it.
Yeah.
So you got to keep.
Stay on the screen.
It is what it is. I had a couple charter buses do that.
Okay.
It is what it is. I think it's a lot harder. Yeah. Can you do it? I guess.
Okay.
But I recommend
Not
Jumping
Being
in the
on a
bus.
bus. Yeah.
There you go.
Any other questions?
Make a video, please.
Yes, please. I request, and you. That's what I do.
Yeah, Luis is the YouTube star, not me.
Please, can you please, please?
read. It's a lot